How do you find a love for something that you'd be willing to show up for free for? Find that thing and make it your career. And I think I found that thing because I genuinely could do this for free.
Caleb Olson, I noticed all the work that you're doing with Montclair Breakfast, which is your production company that you founded, and then you have an upcoming music festival later this month.
What shows in your work is like, who are you? Where do you come from? I always felt out of place because I didn't feel like I had that identity in a place where I grew up. I think if I was on social media for that time of my life, I definitely would have closed off, put up walls, stopped being creative, expressing myself. So I'm grateful for that perspective of just me and not the rest of the world. I definitely feel like Lancaster's on the rise. We're 15,000 over capacity. And that was 6 months ago I was told that, so it's probably more now. When you have that passion for something, nothing's stopping you from achieving that thing.
All right, Caleb Olson, thanks for joining the show today. We got connected through, I guess you could call it the Common Running Network, because I think I discovered your page through the reel I posted with Curran.
Yeah.
Because that did pretty well. It's probably my best performing podcast reel. So we followed each other, and then I noticed all the work that you're doing with Montclair Breakfast, which is your production company that you founded. And then you have an upcoming music festival later this month, which I'm learning about and I'll ask you about as well. I just think a good place to start would be, you said that you grew up in LA and then you moved to Pennsylvania around 13 years old, you said. So can you talk about your upbringing and how that has shaped you into the creative and professional pursuits that you do right now?
Yeah, definitely, man. I definitely feel like my upbringing never aligned me with a hometown, which I always felt defines a person, especially in a creative atmosphere, because it's what shows in your work. It's who are you? Where do you come from? I'm from Philadelphia, born and raised, you know what I mean? It's some stuff like that. And I always felt out of place because I didn't feel like I had that identity in a place where I grew up, because I was bouncing around when I was young. Coast to coast is a very drastic change. And I think as I started to develop less of a self-loathing for where I came from and who I am as a person, I started to see how that actually benefited me, I think. And I definitely think culturally I was able to be exposed to so many different walks of life, from so many different individuals, and just a lot of atmospheres that all blended into who I became as a person. So I think having seen so much at an early age ultimately led me to be able to connect with more people as I continued to grow professionally or just as a person. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't go back to LA as of now. I do like the East Coast and I love New York. It's a couple hours away. But yeah, man, I think that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think it's so important to get out of your hometown when you can, because for me, I've only lived in Pennsylvania, but I grew up outside of Philadelphia, and for the first 20 years of my life, that's where I lived. And then after I left college, I moved out here, and it was, I grew up in the suburbs, and now I'm, in the city, and it's just like you were saying, broadening your horizons a little bit. Yeah. And it helps you to just understand people more and just not be so kind of close-minded and thinking that, this is the way that the world is. Because as soon as you step outside your hometown, you realize, and even then, the country on another scale, it's just, you learn that it just makes you a less, I don't know, you have a greater appreciation for people, I think. So do you have a musical background at all? Or did you play instruments or anything like that?
Yeah, that was kind of my first niche, I feel my first love creatively. At one point I had 30,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. Oh, okay. Which I let go. And I feel I'm the type of person that once I hit a goal, it ceases to lose all of its meaning. or a begins to lose all of its meaning. I said that wrong.
It's interesting.
But yeah, I was homeschooled through high school. So like when I moved to PA, I think I only did like a year of middle school or a year of elementary, whatever it was. And my mom was like, yeah, this is not what I want for my children, I guess. And so I was homeschooled all the way up through high school. I graduated early at 16, but I had so much time, like free time on my hands to just like create stuff. And I'm definitely the only creative in my family for sure. So, I had like a 2010 MacBook, a GarageBand, and just like I started making like EDM beats and dubstep because I had an iPod Nano with like Skrillex on it. So I would always try to like replicate that. And then, I started upgrading gear and recording music and got really into making rap music because I felt like rap music is what would sell the most. And it wasn't even because I like to make rap music per se, but it was because I felt like that would take me to the next professional level of like, it would be easiest to sell rap music to an audience. So I chose to do that. And that ended up putting me into just the underground rap scene of music. And in the free time of being homeschooled, I got really into cameras. And so being in the music scene and being, good with cameras kind of gives you a good in with like going to, live event shows. And I would sneak backstage and I'd, hit it off with the drum tech or, the audio guy or the artist. And I'd be like, dude, like, let me shoot your set for you. Or like, let's shoot a music video. So I was doing that for a few years. And that kind of like got me really into the music industry for sure. That was like my first in.
That's awesome. And it really resonates with me. I mean, I wasn't homeschooled, but I played piano and trumpet. I sang in choirs my entire childhood in some capacity. And then I was making short films with my iPhone and iMovie and doing the green screen and explosions and special effects and stuff like that. And those formative years are, I think, when you're just experimenting with different creative things. And I mean, that's 100% shaped the work that I do today, even though it's not entirely the same. Cause I still do video and podcast production mostly. But it's, all of that stuff was super foundational, which is why I ask on here. I know it can be kind of like, tell me your backstory or whatever. It may not seem like the most, glamorous question, but that's what shapes what you're doing now, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, totally. And I'm also so grateful for like growing up and, like getting into this creative thing and making the movies on, the iPods and making music and learning about cameras and stuff. And I didn't have social media, which I'm like so grateful for, because I definitely think that like if I was on social media during like high school years of my life, I think it would have definitely impacted my want to continue to pursue things. And I just feel like that comes from like the way society is laid out. Like I think it's like you're different when you like create something, or it's like a form of self-expression. And also like when it came to the music stuff, it was still like the SoundCloud era of music. So even though I was putting music out on all streaming platforms and YouTube music videos and everything, I was still just like the SoundCloud artist. And like, people would like bully me for that. Like, and I think if I was on social media for that time of my life, I definitely would have like closed off, put up walls, stopped being creative, expressing myself. So I'm grateful for that perspective of just me and not the rest of the world, because I think I was too young. I think we're all too young to get thrown into social media. And I think it definitely impacts how you think, how you operate as a person creatively, whatever that is, whatever that looks like, because you have endless amount of information, you're being inundated, but then also the critique of everyone else and like, I wish my life looked like his, or then you try to put out something of your life and people don't like it the way you like it. And it's just there's so many variables to that. So I definitely think not having that benefited me to be able to explore and create without the critique of the world before I could like confidently say, this is something I made and I stand by this thing.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that myself with, I mean, how old are you?
I'm 21.
Oh, okay. I'm 26. So I, I was making short films and stuff and putting them up on YouTube when I was 14 or 15, and which is, over a decade ago at this point. And it's just, I've thought about how that has benefited me, and with regards to getting feedback and YouTube comments and stuff at such a young age. Mm-hmm. And, I'm proud of myself for being able to, create videos and upload them and have the confidence to do that. But then also it's tough to, get negative feedback and comments and stuff. And how do you work through that? And it's interesting how you say if you removed social media from the equation, you just focus on the creating without like the noise around that, how, and it's almost like you said before, you wanted to do rap music because you saw, I guess, the demand is that the right word? Definitely, like you saw that there was a void, or that was what was most marketable. So I'm sure that translates over into what you're doing now with planning for this music festival in a way of like, what does the community want? Or, how I wanted to phrase a question to you about how do you build something that people want to be a part of? Mm-hmm. So maybe that's a good segue into that in terms of, how do you think about that with your work in terms of assessing like, trends or what people want to see and how you incorporate that into an event? Like, how do you process feedback?
It's definitely stressful to because in the midst of planning and catering something to your vision, you then have to also take into perspective, okay, but what is the audience going to feel? How are they going to feel? And so trying to build something like that, that's an experience or a performance, or, whether it's a painting or a song or whatever, I think it's hard not to think about what the audience is going to perceive that thing as. And it took me a long time to be able to create without thinking about what the audience is going to think, because ultimately, I think you look at any great movie or film series, or, I listen to a lot of Rick Rubin. He talks about creating for you, because that is what has put you on the map, is because you originally you liked to just create said thing for you, right? Not for the audience. And once you start to create for the audience, you lose the audience. And so when it goes to planning the festival, genuinely, it's just a mix of people that I want to give spotlight to, that I think are the next big thing, and then a mix of local talent that I want to get out of Lancaster more, build them up. So when we do local shows, we'll have a lot of the local bands that we've become close with, which is really cool, and there's a lot of great bands out here. So it's kind of just figuring out how can we now take our local scene and get them into Jersey, to get them into New York, into Philly, but then also take the people that are popping in New York and bring them out here. So you keep the music scene thriving while then putting Lancaster on the map for bands that have come out of our scene. I say our scene I've grown up here, but I haven't even grown up here. So it's crazy because I have such a love for the city and the people here. And I definitely feel like that has pushed me and inspired me on the hard days to keep wanting to improve and grow and build something, because it's not for me ultimately. It's for the experience, for the audience, for the people that get to feel a part of something, as if it's more of a collective than it is a company, which is the original vision that I had for it was just a creative collective, like an Odd Future almost, if you remember that era of with Tyler the Creator and Earl Sweatshirt. And it was the way people dressed and the music that was being made and the memes and kind of creating an atmosphere for what does the next decade look like. And if I could potentially scale Montclair Breakfast to be that, that'd be awesome. But I mean, I'm having a great time putting on local shows and festivals. So like, we'll see where it goes. But I think it's kind of just like for the people, by the people type of thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can you expand on what makes the local aspect of Lancaster special as opposed to, doing a festival in New York or Philly? Because I'm sure it's a very tight-knit community here, and I'm sure that there are, that comes with its own benefits in a way.
Yeah. I definitely feel like the loss of Chameleon Club definitely impacted the music scene out here. But there's so many great venues, West Art just popped up. West Art's great. Love West Art. I definitely feel like Lancaster's on the rise, totally. Like, we're 15,000 over capacity. And that was like 6 months ago I was told that. So it's probably more now.
Oh, wow.
And we're just growing as a city. And I think like, it's like almost like a mini slice of Brooklyn in a way. Like, just like creative people are thriving here, and everyone's an entrepreneur, and everyone's like supporting one another. And it's not like if you go up to New York, everyone is already something basically, or trying to be, and there's a lot of hospitality in New York, which is why I love it more than LA, because everyone's trying to be something in LA, but people are just assholes over there, So it's different out here because there's a lot of humility and like supporting your neighbor, and just putting the city on. There's like everyone that's out here, lives out here, has a love for the city, which is cool. And then a love for everyone else that's in it. At least that's how I've felt being out here. So I think being able to continue to grow that, because I think there's so much potential. I mean, now you have Rock Lidditz, which is, I wouldn't say it's newer, but it's relatively new to where like people that have lived here all their life still don't really know it exists. And, that's like the biggest global touring hub, in the States. There's music, in the roots of Lancaster, and you think of like roots and blues and, everything. Like, there's every type of like, genre is like, has thrived out here at one point. So it's how can we tap back in, but like with the youth, like I don't feel like there's a scene for the youth out here in Central PA and in Lancaster. So how can we, bring more culture, be more inclusive, and just create, just be, creatives together.
Yeah, I didn't realize how big Rock Lidditz was until I think I don't know if it was that specifically or an adjacent company or a music production company out of Lidditz, where I was actually at one of the Common Run Club events. I was talking to some people, and there were multiple who said that they actually moved from California to Lidditz specifically to work there. Yeah. And I thought, okay, if you're going to go coast to coast out of California, which, has the reputation of being,
the place, right?
The place for show business and stuff, then that says a lot. So it's interesting when you think about, the Pennsylvania as a location on the East Coast, like in comparison to New York. I think it's definitely up and coming for sure from what I've heard from people. So. Yeah.
I mean, like Lancaster being as small as it is, but in the center of, Harrisburg, Philly, Baltimore, New York's not far. Like you're able to cater to so many different scenes of music as well. Like, you're so close to everything. And I think that's a huge benefit for Rock Lidditz, is that you're not far from a lot of major cities, but then also you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like, you're secluded. You wouldn't know that that's what's going on over there. Mm-hmm. So I think it works to their benefit, as they could just continue to scale.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about the challenges of putting on a live event and just the lessons you've learned from that? Because we were talking before recording that, my background in the production that I focused on is all pre-recorded stuff. So when I think of production company, there are different production companies for different purposes. And I think this is a great new perspective to have on here, because everyone I've talked to are, they just do video or photo, and there's not really a live aspect to it. So I'm sure that presents its own challenges with, the venue and the attendee experience, and if there's food involved and different vendors, and the branding and marketing and ticket sales and all of that. So what are the biggest lessons that you've learned since founding Montclair Breakfast, and just around live events in general?
I feel like I've been so blessed to be able to pick the minds of guys who have already done the thing that I want to do, but it's slightly different. So I think that's helped me a lot, and I'm so grateful for these friendships I've made through Rock Lidditz, and just working arena stadium shows and whatnot, and connecting with these guys that are top of their league, have started their own company, and being able to just pick their brains of how they did it. And it's nice to also know sometimes they'll check in and see how things are going with us. And I wouldn't say that, like, sometimes I like to think like a lesson is a failed experience because you learn from said thing. And I don't think we've necessarily failed at anything where it's been like a harsh lesson learned. I think it's just like, keep stepping forward, new idea, how do we accomplish that idea? And just developing it together as a team, and it's enjoyable. It doesn't feel like work either. So it's like, how can we find new local talent in Lancaster and also showcase talent of in our local bands and our local scene? Do an artist of the month. Okay, so what does that look like? How do we make it special for an artist of the month? We'll get them their own platinum plaque, and we'll do an hour interview with the band. And we did definitely soft launch it this year because we haven't done it every month. It's just like life gets complicated, and so many moving parts and conflicting schedules, but I think we're gonna go full fledged next year with it. But it's just like stuff like that, like how do we fit this rig into this arena, into this venue, or my buddy Chris, he's our LD. It's kind of up to him to design the lighting plots, and he works at Four Wall over at Rock. So now we have like a little bit of an in, and like a lot of these companies have helped us too, because like we are actually just kids. You know what I mean? Which also kind of works to our detriment sometimes, because it's like, yeah, like we would love to like bring you guys on, give you guys more responsibility, or but like they're all young, they still have a lot to learn. But I think that's kind of what feeds our hunger a bit, is like we've yet to meet that wall of reality. So like we all try to stay super ambitious, but also just learn from the people that did it prior, because I think there's something poetic in that, of like the people that walked your path before you like have that wisdom and they've lived that life, but then also maybe their ambition or their ideas have been restrained by fear of failure, or they've built something that they can lose, so that risk is optimal. So like for us, the sky's the limit risk-wise, because we really don't have much to lose, because like we are just kids, and like we're developing and we're growing, and like we're living delusionally, which I think a lot of great things come from that mentality. So I really just think like having amazing peers that to call when we have questions and be like, what would you do in this scenario? Like, how would this work out if we tried to do this thing? Or getting to hear their stories. And I think that's something that I'm definitely super keen on, is when I become invested in something, or I develop a love for something, I become obsessed with it in a way where like I need to meet every person that knows about this thing. Like I moved out here for Rock Lidditz, and I wasted no time like just meeting everyone, shaking every hand, but not just like roadies and people that are, production managers and tour managers and whatever, because it's still kind of like a new industry to me. But now I'm just really like in it, like I'm not shooting a show over in New York. Like I'm like prepping the show to go out to an arena. It's like the designs of like the products we're packaging, the stage decks, the lighting, the truss, like who designed these things, you know what I mean? And those guys still are living, they're still alive, which is crazy to think about, is like this industry is still so new, but the people that have like pioneered it are still around to like learn from. And so that's one of the things that I tried my best to do, is just meet all of those guys, like the Mickey Tates and the Troy Claires, and just to like, you know, learn from them and their business models, or like how they got started and what was their inspiration and how do they continue to grow when they're already at such a massive level. So I think that definitely, I'm on a tangent right now, but I think that definitely helps us to like prepare for events and to plan. And also I feel like it gives us a bit of like a weight off of our shoulders, because the scale of it isn't huge, because we've had the opportunity to work on bigger scale shows where like the failure and the risk is like severe. Like you can't mess this up. So it's a little bit more laid back, where we're at West Start, like these are our friends and like our community, and like, but still you have to like mitigate it and run it like it's a real event, and, you know, have, you know, event safety sheets, and, you know, go over your hazards and make sure you're not over capacity, and permits for, you know, whatever. But yeah, definitely learning from our peers for sure helps us.
Yeah, I think there's so many good lessons there. Did you do any college at all, or?
So I'm still in college,
okay,
actually. Yeah, which is crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're multitasking there.
Definitely.
And I think that's, it's great that you have this mindset and you're doing all of that networking in addition to the college. 'Cause, I mean, for me, I did 2 years of college, and I dropped out, and like that was, I kind of had to double down on that mentality of like, if I'm going to do this without it on my own, then shaking as many people's hands as possible, and just trying to get my name out there and do the best work possible so that I'm remembered. And it's, I mean, whether you go to college or not, you need that for a successful career anyway. So I think it's inspiring to hear you say all of that, because it's gold. I mean, that's what's going to set you up for success. And I was just curious if that was, because I think that alone is what's going to sustain you, whether you have the college education or not. But I don't know what, if you have any thoughts on just like a formal education versus experience, or what's worked for you with that.
I think, and I think this is probably a hot take. I think also comes from just being homeschooled. But I was classically educated. So like the curriculum was like, I guess pretty intense. Like when I look back at it, like I took Latin for 4 years. Like I had to draw the globe from memory as best as I could to graduate high school. Wow. Which is like, it's just like weird things that like I've never heard anyone else like had ever needed to do to graduate. So I think, but my perspective is like drastically different. And I don't think that I've ever felt inspired sitting in a classroom ever. I don't think I can say one time that I've ever been inspired, or, you know, and I think, again, it's the education thing is something that you can acquire. It's not something that like you need, in my mind, that you need to pay to sit in a room full of a bunch of other people and hear one person speak to you. You know what I mean? I don't feel like there's just no room to like creatively think or speak. You're just kind of being taught with words. And I think, you know, again, it's something that you can go and acquire. And I definitely never had a mentality to go and meet all of these guys and shake their hands because I wanted an opportunity or for them to put me on to, a job, or it was never like that. It was genuinely because I had an obsession about this thing, this industry, and a love for it that like, I want to hear your stories. Like, you helped build this thing, or, you know, you went on so many tours, like with bands that are just no longer around anymore. Like, what is that like? What have you seen? And I think that if, not everyone has that mentality. And there's a lot of things that I probably should have that mentality with in my life that I like slack off with. And I need to like light that fire again. But I think when you have that passion for something, nothing's stopping you from achieving that thing. And I thought about dropping out of college, and my first thought was like, if for whatever reason I fail, like for whatever reason, if I drop out of college and I fail, it's on me. You know what I mean? Because you can do like whatever you want in this life. Like it's genuinely like a game. And if I'm going to allow me not having a degree to like impact the rest of my life, like I'm making that choice. And the only reason I would fail is if I just didn't lock in and like do the thing, I'm going to stay in school because a lot of the guys, that I have built friendships with, in the live entertainment industry helped build the program that I'm in currently. And I think it's a program that, they all wish that they had at one point. And it's still new and it's, it's developing and it's going to be, a phenomenal program.
So that's your major right now is, oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah. Live entertainment technology.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
And I don't want to like do like a disrespect, people that have like relationships with and be like, actually, I dropped out of your program that you helped build or you donated gear towards. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
So just to keep, my friendships good with, my friends and my peers and, and just also finish it out because I'm really close. But I was thinking about it for a while. Guys, I'm just like so busy.
Yeah.
But I definitely do think that I wouldn't have any of my connections if I didn't go. So if I might not have necessarily taken away anything from lectures or sitting in classrooms, but I made the conscious choice to stay after hours to, when I first moved out here, I worked at Mickey's Black Box for like 3 months for free. Mm-hmm. And then it got to the point where I was like, I went to the venue manager and I was like, hey man, like I'll clean your toilets, dude. Like I want to be here in this realm of live entertainment, but I have to like eat. So like I will literally do anything to be here. And then he, just hired me to do regular gig stuff there. But I think that's the thing that we all need to find at some point in our lives is like, how do you find a love for something that you'd be willing to show up for free for? Find that thing and make it your career. And I think I found that thing because I genuinely could do this for free. Like just like live events, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's a different atmosphere, it's a different world, and like it just fits my personality. Like I'm super ADHD, fast paced, like the unknowns of things. But you also get to create an experience for people, And I think that is where I've landed after not being able to, I choose not to make music, but I think that was also why I wanted to make music because when you're on a stage or you're building the stage, either or, you still get to see the emotion of people from an experience. Like you're not just going to see a show, you're getting experience of like lights and emotion and, variations of songs. And I think that is what inspires me to like have this love for this thing.
I love that. Yeah, that's, I think all that context is really important. How you said, the program that you're in and the circumstances around the people that are involved is why you're going to finish, but you've thought about like where am I extracting the most value out of being here? Mm-hmm. And it might not necessarily be in the lectures as much as it is the people. And it's just good to have the awareness of that and not just thinking if I go through and I get the diploma, then that's going to be, I'm set because probably not. My situation is, my sophomore year of college was when COVID hit and everything went online, and I had considered dropping out before that. I was freelancing throughout high school and my first couple years of college. So I had a portfolio and I'd thought about it. And then I said, you know what, this is basically YouTube University. I can always come back later. And it was I was at a fork in the road because I was exactly halfway through. Mm-hmm. I was 2 years in and I said, if I stay in one more year, then I might as well finish because I'm close enough. And, but if I'm going to make that jump, then it should be right now. So I never want to criticize people's decisions about their education and their career because there's so many variables with timing and just where they see the direction of their career going. And things like that. But I mean, hands down, I tell people this all the time. The most valuable part of being the 2 years of college that I did were the people that I met. And I still am in contact with, and I still, I mean, personally, yes, there are like personal friendships, but also just career wise, people that I collaborate with on stuff, or people that I worked with in college. And it's like you said, doing stuff after hours. I mean, as a freshman, I helped seniors with their senior project because they had access to the gear that the freshmen didn't. Like, they had the red cameras and all that.
Yeah.
And I said, if I want to get my hands on that as soon as possible, then I should volunteer on their sets. And there were times where I stayed on their set until 3 a.m. Wasn't being paid for any of this, but I had that vocational sort of sense within me where this is my career.
Yeah.
And when I left college and stuff, there was no other option in my mind. I said, I love doing this. This is my passion, and I'm going to make it work regardless of if I finish college or not. So it's kind of, you just have to have that in you. And it's like that fire that's lit within you is going to push you beyond just the bare minimum. And when I see people that are just kind of, like when I was in those film programs, it was just kind of like, you could tell, like you can pretty much tell when you meet someone if they're made for it or not. Like, I don't know if you can tell that with people.
There's very few. I mean, I could probably count on one hand how many people I've seen probably in my life that have that passion for something, that are just like, they're thinking the way you were thinking in that moment. Like, if I want to get my hands on this gear, it's through this, staying after hours and like being in this atmosphere. And like I think people don't really have that, especially at a young age too. I think that is something that develops like after college for a lot of people, when it's already time to have the job. So it's like, it's like, oh, well, now I got to make something work. But I think like just being in that atmosphere and like being willing to like show up for free for something, like you'll know when you like find the thing, that you love. It's like, how do I do this thing? And you'd be willing to show up under any circumstance to like be near the, proximity to this thing. And that's cool. And that's really inspiring, because I think it's rare to find that. People don't really have that.
Yeah. And I like to think this podcast that I'm doing right now is the perfect example of that passion. I mean, I've been recording podcasts in some capacity for quite a few years, but I've ramped it up in the last 2 doing these in-person setups, and I don't make any money off of this. I really don't, but I see my future as doing this for a living, like my own show, sponsorships. I'm not there yet. I mean, I do podcast production for other people, so I consider this a form of marketing for that. Mm-hmm. So, but in terms of this being like a passion project, that's pretty much what it is. I mean, it honestly costs me money to, rent the studio spaces and set up all of my gear, and hours and hours of post-processing, editing and stuff. And I wouldn't do that if I didn't love it and I didn't see my future there. And sometimes it's, I believe within myself that if this is what I'm made to do, and I need to keep planting those seeds and continuing on this path, that all of the work that I'm putting in now will accumulate to that future that I want. And eventually, it'll be something that, I mean, like, I have a successful business outside of doing just this, like with clients and stuff. But if I can like generate revenue with just my own show, I'm not there yet, and I don't have like the audience yet, but if I keep investing in it, eventually I will get there. And I genuinely have that belief. And it's like you said, it's kind of rare that people it's so easy to give up with this stuff. You do one show and maybe not a lot of people show up, or you do one podcast and not a lot of people listen, and you just kind of throw in the towel and say, oh, well, I'm not built for this or something. And the consistency and just showing up despite that is so rare from people.
Yeah, it is. And I think even the internet, doesn't really help that, because I feel like with a swipe of a thumb, you're seeing someone else who's building their thing too. But you're only seeing the video that has 300,000 likes on it. You're not seeing the other 300 posts that were deleted with 2 likes on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's very discouraging. And I think that's why it's made that way. So we don't try to build our own thing. So we see everyone else. We see just the successful side of things. Like social media is just people posting the winning lottery ticket, but not the 100 not winning lottery tickets.
Right.
So like, yeah, like to that point is like, I look at it as failure is still success, because you tried something. Like, you know what I mean? People don't want to try anymore. Like, what happened that like being different or trying something, is weird or lame or like, and it's also too, it's like, if you believe it, it will happen too. And like, that's crazy. Like manifestation, bro. Like if you genuinely believe in something, like the energy of that belief, like it will unfold. Like I can't even tell you how many times I've seen it, like, and it feels like coincidental, but it's like too many times to be like, no, like this is God's plan. Like you just got to walk through the door, dude, and it'll just keep opening up. And then you're in a new room. And you're like, this room's way better than the room I was just in. You just keep like a metaphorical room.
Yeah.
But like, it'll just keep scaling. And it's just the consistency and the, like I think everyone has their plan, like their perfect plan for their life. But it's just like, you have to still take the steps. Like whatever that looks like. Is it waking up at 7 a.m. and going to this job to get the money to fund your passion project that becomes the company that, retires you or changes the world, or like, so, and like, it's hard. It's easier said than done, obviously too. It's like, but we all have our own answers to things, and like, what does that look like? And it's like when they say flip a coin, and like, whenever side it lands on, if you feel some type of emotion to that side, if you're discouraged with like the side it landed on. So like we all know like what we want, or like who we should call, or what the opportunity is, but it's like, do you have it in you to like accomplish the thing? And, I mean, me and Curran were just talking about it the other day. It's like sharing ideas too. And I forget the exact percentage, but I think it's like when you share an idea or a goal or something you're going to accomplish, before it's accomplished, it decreases the probability of that goal being accomplished by like 80%, because your brain releases a fake dopamine because you've shared the goal to like get like, and sometimes it's just to get like feedback from other people, but you're still getting that sense of like that dopamine hit of like almost as if you've achieved the goal already. And I think continuing to like grow things and like just moving in silence is like so important. And like, what is the next thing? Like, so for you, like, what is the next thing? How do you feel like you could get to the next level and be sponsored? And like, what does that look like?
In all honesty, it means getting rid of all my paid clients and spending all of my time doing it. In all honesty. And that's a really tough thing, because I've spent years building up the client list that I have now. And I have I have an assistant editor because I can't do all of it myself. And it's like, do I hire someone to just edit my own show so I can spend all that other time booking guests and doing interviews? And I've thought, if I truly want to, there's no doubt in my mind that I could have my own show take off like crazy if I just did it full time. But it would be a full time sort of thing. And I think there's nothing wrong with building it on the side. And I tell people this with, if they're working a 9-to-5 job and they're wondering, oh, how do I start freelancing? It doesn't necessarily have to be a light switch. You can be building your own portfolio on the side, working your 9-to-5. And then once you build up the freelance work enough, then you can let go of the 9-to-5, and then you can keep going there. So I think that's what I've been doing with this. But the blunt, honest answer is I treat it like the lowest priority thing on my list. And oh, surprise, that's the results that I get from it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, there's a direct cause and effect there. This is lower down on my list as opposed to all the paid client work. So that's why it's not taking off like I would like it to.
Yeah.
So what do I have to do about that? Is it just the financial resources of having someone edit everything for me, like I mentioned before, or do I have someone just edit all my paid client stuff and then I just, because I'm passionate about it, I do my own show? But it's really, it's easier said than done because I've worked so hard to have the clients that I have now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is like how I make my living. So I can't just offload all of that and get rid of it and then just do my own show. It's the kind of thing where I have to build it up a little bit more, but that's a perfect example of how your priority list in life is, if something's at the bottom, then don't expect to get a lot of results out of it. So
yeah, that is kind of how things are sitting with Montclair Breakfast. It's hard to because I'm involved in so many different things and so many, different jobs and clients and gigs and then our stage manager is on tour for like the next year, and our artist management guy, he's full time over at Tate, and so it's hard, and like I don't ever want to take away, because it's not like we're at the highest level yet where we're all getting paid, because we still have to invest in the idea and the vision to build something. And once you build something is when, everything starts to unfold. And the last thing I want is to take away opportunities from, my friends, ultimately, to be like, sacrifice, what I'm sacrificing. And I can't ask that of people. So I definitely think it's put a lull in the last few months with how much we're able to get done or plan and schedule. But I think there's also the thing where nothing happens overnight, and I think I get excited for things and I'm like, growth needs to be tomorrow morning. I need to see growth. I need to see the difference today. But it's like going to the gym. Who knows where, Montclair Breakfast is only actually 1 year old as a production company. So it's and we've done some cool shit, So it's what does next year look like? And that's the thing that I need to be better with, and as a leader and be more mature with, is it's slow progression, but as long as you're consistent, it's still progression. A little progress is still progress. So even for, in regards to your show, if you keep doing these, you're still putting out content for it. It's still being built. It's not completely stopped, Mm-hmm. And I think that's where people ultimately end up just stopping something, because they're it's not progressing as fast as I like it to, but you're still doing it.
Yeah. As long as you're investing in the vision,
yeah,
and you're putting consistent reps in,
yeah,
that's the toughest thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I am very, I'm very optimistic about it. And I think, just thinking really big picture, because I like to think big, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
But in terms of, interviewing high profile guests, it's kind of, if I reach out to talent agencies and they see that I have, minimal reviews or whatever, regardless of, because I think the production quality of the show, I put a lot of work into that, and I think it's top tier. But at the end of the day, if you're not getting a lot of views, then it's then talent agencies aren't going to consider you. So I've thought outside the box of what are ways where, if I want to interview pro athletes, it's sometimes you just need that one into the NFL or something. If you interview one former player, and then who do they know?
Yeah.
If you do a good job for them, and then, so it's maybe I don't need talent agencies.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to think outside the box here. Mm-hmm. And if I'm doing all these shows, and I go to someone and I say, okay, I've done 50 episodes. That says something, because I've shown up, I've done 50 episodes, the production quality is great. I use that as the proof of concept to get an interview with, say, a former NFL player who I know through a mutual friend, and then I set up something with them, and then they're impressed by it, and I say, I'd like to do this. Do you know anyone else? Oh yeah, I think they would be good. And then it's a rolling snowball, and that's how you kind of ascend into building the network of interviewing more higher higher profile people. So but the whole point is, like we've been talking about, like me recording this episode today is a stepping stone in that direction.
Yeah.
As opposed to not doing anything and just thinking about it.
Yeah. Especially if you're tapping into like, guys like Curran, like wherever he goes, like young entrepreneurs, like you never know. And that's the thing. It's like on the way up the ladder, like you're going to see people and like you might end up coming back down the ladder. You'll see the same people, you know what I mean? And vice versa. So it's like, you never know. And I've just seen it so many times happen where like, artists are the next big thing. And like, they were just like one of our friends in a group chat, like making music. And now they're like, they're mainstream artists level now. It's like cool. It's really amazing to see. But again, you never know where that leads with like your friendships, your connections, your peers. But then like too, like if you think really outside the box, you could even reach out to like local, like state college coaches. You know what I mean? Like reach out to, because they all know guys. I'm sure that people have graduated from colleges and gone on to play pro league, so they all have numbers and stuff, So there's definitely like a way to do it. But do you feel like you're like at the level, like set wise, like what does that look like? Do you need to bring guys with you to go to the fields to like, so that's like something to think about, but totally feasible,
Oh yeah.
Totally feasible.
I can totally envision myself doing it. It's just a matter of prioritization and taking action.
Yeah.
And I think it's impossible to not win if if you're doing those things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I love all this. I did want to ask you about, before we run out of time, working at the World Cup final.
Yeah.
That's had to be a pretty cool experience. So how did you get involved with that? And just what was that like being in that building for that?
Dude, it was crazy. It was like 3 of the longest days of my life, like 22-hour work days. And I probably have to be careful how I word a lot of this. But so it was like through our local union over at Rock. They sent out it was a day before call. They were like, I think they got a call on the phone, or like, we need guys to fill this call. We're like, go up to MetLife, whatever that looks like. We have no idea. We have no information on this. I was like, dude, yeah, fuck yeah, dude. World Cup final. Like, I don't even know soccer like that. So I have that's sick. And, so I was like, yes. And then they sent an email out saying that FIFA canceled the call. So I was like, oh, dude, like bummed out, dude. And then it was like, I was about to go to bed, and like the call went out. It was like, they gave us 3 days, but now you're just getting the 1 day. I was like, okay, so I'll go up tomorrow. Cool. So like, we had to be on site at 4 a.m., 3-hour bus drive up, spent the whole day there. At the end of the day, we're told that we got to be back tomorrow. So like, okay, that's nice to know. So we get back at around 1 a.m. in Lidditz, and we have to be back at Lidditz at 2:45 a.m. to get back on the bus. So I had about an hour and 15 minutes to like just do my laundry of what I was wearing, put it back on, and drive to go get on the bus.
Oh man!
So it was crazy, but like, I love as soon as I'm like at a show doing a load in on site, like I'm just in go mode. I could have not slept, and I'm like just ready to go. And then as soon as like I get back, like I think I slept for like a whole day after like those 3 days. Actually, I don't even think I slept. I didn't actually, because I was still so much energy from that. Mm-hmm. So when I was up there, we did the halftime show, prep, rehearsals, stage assembly. Some of my friends did the pyro for that, and then the trophy ceremony. Wow. So we had to do rehearsals for that, and that so like I rolled out my piece for the trophy ceremony, which is actually the exact piece that Trump stood on. So it's like the white podium. Mm-hmm. And what was crazy is that the game went into like OT. So we were like on standby with these stage pieces for like a way longer than we thought we were going to be. And then finally like the game ends, and they're like, go, start rolling the pieces out, So like I'm rolling the pieces out, and then, but my piece has to connect to a massive piece while it's still backstage, which is like kind of nerve wracking, because like a lot could probably go wrong. And we're on TV time, which is like, we have to assemble this thing in 8 minutes, and all of our rehearsals were like 15 minutes. So we have to be like fast.
Yeah.
And then there's just, all the, production managers just yelling like, go, 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 go. So we assemble the massive piece together with my little piece, and then we roll it out. And when you're like in go mode. So I'm not really like looking around or anything. I'm not processing like the environment around me until I finally put the last like staircase up on top of the stage, and I step down, and I'm like, okay, we're good. And I'm walking back, and I'm just like, holy shit, dude. And like a bunch of the Spain players are like, it felt like I was in like a war zone in like a movie scene, but I'm on the pitch of the World Cup final.
Wow.
And it just is like fans screaming on this side. And like, I look over, and like Spain players are like jumping in front of me, and they're like screaming, and like the families are all coming to run out and like hug their sons and whatnot. And then, dude, like Messi's like right next to me, like laying on the floor crying, dude. It's like crazy,
Wow.
It's like, why am I here right now, dude?
You got better than a front row seat to that.
Dude, you know what's crazy is I got Messi's socks.
Really?
I got Messi's socks, dude. So like
from the game used socks or
game worn, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I don't even know how I could I mean, there's like blood stains on them and like grass stains. I don't know how like I could like send them off to get like approved and like in a frame with like a certification. But he like was taking his cleats and his guards off or whatnot, and we had to go backstage and just wait for like the stadium to empty. But like the Spain team was out there for a while, so we had to go back out and then deassemble the stage. But we're just kind of all hanging out, everyone's celebrating like. And I walked over to where like Messi was sitting because I had saw him taking his socks off. And so I'm like standing there, and it's like when like when you're a kid and you see someone like drop $1 and you like stand on it to make sure no one sees it, and then you snag it. It was like that because I saw this like clumped up sock, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna like wait till no one sees me right now, and I'm gonna like grab them. And so I just grabbed them, and then I like unfolded. It was 2 socks, dude. They were like soaking wet, smelled like shit, dude. It just like smelled like dirty, game worn socks.
So he was just gonna leave them there anyway, or?
I think that's like really the routine because a lot of the players just like their feet hurt after a game, like just take their gear off their kit. But yeah, like just game worn socks. I was like, I'm gonna toss those in my back pocket. I got some of the net too, which was cool.
Wow.
But it was just such a cool experience, and the atmosphere was like nothing like I had ever seen before.
Just think about people enter the lottery just to have a nosebleed seat to that years in advance.
Yeah.
And you're that close
the
to
day
the
before
action
they're
find
just
out
calling
the day
me
before.
and I'm on crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate. I was able to do something for FIFA this year, not nearly on the scale that you did, but it was for a friend of mine. He's big into soccer, and he actually has a soccer apparel brand, and I've been doing work for him for years. And there was it was in Newark, Delaware. And it was the Ivory Coast team. This was back in June, and they were doing the B-roll for the players, where they hold up their name and they're on the green screen and they're doing the poses and their celebrations and stuff. But what you said about the scheduling thing didn't surprise me at all, because I got up at 4 a.m. here. I drove and got to Newark at like 6 a.m. or whatever, and then we loaded everything in and did the whole green screen setup with, all 5 lights and everything. And we set up and we're ready to go at 10 a.m. And the representative of the team walks in, and, they all speak French. So she's like translating. It's like, oh, well, the team decided to not do media day this morning. They decided to practice instead. So they're going to do this at 8 p.m. tonight. And I'm like, we got here. It's 6 o'clock this morning, and now we have nothing to do all day. We're just going to wait.
Yeah.
So we left and then came back, and it's kind of like the reputation of like FIFA, where it's all disorganized and kind of like they don't care, just because, well, you should be thankful because, FIFA's doing all of this for your economy. It's kind of that like pretentious mindset, but I don't know. I just got a little taste of that, I think, but I don't know.
I mean, it's like just such a massive event. So you know what I mean. So I can only imagine, you know, like I probably didn't even see like the worst of the disorganization. I just felt like it was and I mean also too, it's like we had to deal with the Secret Service too, which is a whole other thing.
Oh yeah.
With fucking the president. So it was crazy. So you had so many people that were like highest level, like, you know, like Justin Bieber's like over in the corner playing his guitar with his friends, and Post Malone's walking by, and then there's like the FIFA volunteers where like Tom Cruise was like going by in his golf cart, like, shh. And then all the FIFA volunteers are like, oh, like, can I get a photo? Can I get a photo? And like whenever I'm working a gig, like even in real life, if I'm not working, I'm just like, and I meet somebody at that caliber, I never ask for a photo.
Right.
I just feel like it's like
In
unprofessional.
bad taste. Or,
yeah, I get like, I cringe if I like were to say those words, like, can I get a photo? But like, dude, I wish I could be a volunteer and just like take photos with a celebrity. Like, I don't even know what they did.
Right.
But no, dude, it was a fun gig for sure.
Yeah, just to be surrounded with all the influential people that were in that building to see that, and not just any World Cup game, the final, and that's so cool. And it's kind of like you were saying, you never know.
Yeah.
Whatever situations you put yourself in with the people that you meet, you never know. I mean, that the guy that I did the FIFA thing for, I mean, I did something for a Premier League fan fest, editing for that, like worked on the stuff for all these like high profile tequila or spirits brands and stuff. And it's literally from an Indeed application when I was
Really?
like right before I left college.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy.
there was there was, you know, I don't know if you've ever done, there's like a personality test in some of the job applications. Yeah. And I remember thinking, I don't know if I want to do this right now. I just want to do an application that doesn't have this. And I said, you know what, maybe I should try it.
Yeah.
So I did it, and all the doors that it's opened to me from doing that application are just, I can't imagine if I was lazy in that moment to just not want to do that. It's just, you never know, like where an Indeed application can take you, where going on a gig, you know, I've done, you know, a friend of mine does wedding gigs and, you know, wedding films, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but there have been times where it's like, oh yeah, I'll help out. And I've done stuff where, you know, the people I meet on those shoots are, even if it's not the thing that I necessarily want to be doing like long term or that I want to specialize in, it's just, I've met so many great people just saying yes to doing things that just grow your network. You know, that's the name of the game with this.
It really is. Yeah. Saying yes more to things, like, cause you're only as old as your experiences, you know? So it's like you just actually never know like where yes will get you. Like, say yes more for sure. It's definitely something I like tell my friends.
Do you want to give a quick 1 minute pitch for Citadels Sanctum, right?
Yeah. Oh man, should I look at the camera
or whatever you want?
Oh man,
it doesn't have to be a minute. Just if you want to talk about like why people should check it out.
Okay. August 29th at West Start, we're hosting our second annual music festival, Citadels Sanctum 2, featuring a phenomenal lineup of local artists to Lancaster and touring artists signed to major labels. I think really it's not just a show to come to, like come support your local scene. There's a lot of really great bands in the local scene that are on this lineup. And again, a lot of great bands coming and traveling really far to perform for Lancaster for the very first time. There's going to be food trucks, merch, vendors, all from local to Lancaster. So it's the biggest weekend at West Start, actually, because it's the music festival and then the block party the very next day. So I hope to see you guys all at both of those things.
Awesome.
I think that could work.
Yeah, we if you're worried about covering up jump cuts, then we can hopefully put some B-roll over it or some. If you've got like photos
and stuff. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, did Curran have to send you all of the ones that he had in his? Because he had a ton. Like every word he was saying was like a cut to.
So he didn't send me anything. I actually went through all of his socials and then the common YouTube channel, and I screen recorded some stuff.
Nice.
I downloaded, I did screenshots,
Yeah.
and that edit took a lot of effort, but I think it turned out awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
The trailer was just, I mean, I not to pat myself on the back, but like I knocked that out of the park because I wanted him to, he said he would do a collab post, but I wanted him to be like, man, this is legit. So, but yeah, so I mean, it is helpful. If I wish people would just send me a folder of high res images and stuff instead of having.
But
to
you
like
couldn't
rip
even
it
really
off.
tell. That's why I thought he sent you all those. I was like, damn.
No.
Yeah.
I was cropping out the YouTube, the channel watermark and some of the interface stuff from screen recording. But I've gotten pretty good at just, if there's because I edit a lot of other podcasts, and if there are guests and they don't provide anything, it's just, I mean, their socials are usually, the annoying thing is when people have baked in captions on their posts. Yeah. And I'm like, I would love this clip right here, but without captions. So it's helpful.
That's such a big trend right now.
With just not having captions, or
like text overlaid over your images, and you like slide through the carousel and read the photo.
That too. But if there's videos, I mean, I love using videos too, but if they just have all the stuff, the branding or the captions and stuff on it. So, but anyway, that's a tangent. If you have anything, we can overlay it on there. But,
yeah, sweet, man.
Oh, do you want to talk about the fish tank short film?
Yeah, we can. Well, it comes out on Thursday. So
I don't know if I'll be able to turn this around.
That's a tight turnaround, yeah.
We don't have to. But.
I mean, I could share a piece, just like whatever. So do you know Topher?
Yeah, I've talked to him very briefly.
Yeah. He's a man of few words, but he's really cool. I had put out an Instagram reel that marked 6 months of sobriety, and he had seen it, and was like, he called me, he's like, hey, I want to shoot this short film for this music bed film competition that's coming up. And I just saw your Instagram reel, and I was like, this is kind of inspiring. So like, let's make something about that. And then we like got together, and like nothing was really like creatively like thriving, like in our conversation of like how we would document this short film. And then I think it was the second time I had ever spoken to Topher. It was at Common, and he was like, what's going on, dude? How are you? And I was like, I'm not doing too good. Like my fish died. And then like you could tell he like wanted to laugh, because like, that's like normally people's reaction. And I was saying that, and I was actually really sad. And he was like, oh, like, I don't know if I should laugh or like, are you like, is that like a sad thing? And I was like, yeah, like it kind of is. And because that fish actually like meant a lot to me, which is weird, because like I've never, like, you think just a fish is a fish or whatever. Mm-hmm. And when I first moved out here, I was just like really isolated. I didn't know anyone. I got really depressed, and like I got a fish because it was the only thing my landlord would allow me to have. And his name was Bob, and he like, I would wake up in the mornings to like make sure I fed him before I'd feed myself. Like I would take care of him. Like, so it was weird. Like, and I was really sad when he passed away, but I had bought a second fish, and his name was Jay. And when I had said that to Topher, I was like, yeah, my fish died, but I still have Jay. He was like, oh, like Jay and Silent Bob, which is like, one of my favorite directors, Kevin Smith. He made Clerks. Have you ever seen Clerks? Two characters in his storylines is Jay and Silent Bob. So it was like a reference. And Topher was like the only person I had met at the time who got it. They got that reference. And so he remembered that when we were discussing making this short film, and was like, let's implement that somehow. So it's like kind of just like a mashup of like true life events, but just in like a different light or composition. And like Topher's a mastermind. Like he's put so much effort into this. So stay tuned, and hopefully he wins, or we win, he wins, whatever.
Awesome.
Fish tank, yeah.
Yeah, the teaser looked really cool.
Thank you.
The color grading and the behind the scenes, how you showed the boat.
The shot versus
yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah, he got a broadcast lens for this, just for this, which was not cheap.
Yeah.
And the zoom that they have is just like insane. So like that one wide shot where I'm just like running through the cemetery and it's like so cool. So hopefully we win because Topher we put a lot of together energy into this thing.
I got to get Topher on here at some point.
Yeah,
I think
you
he would
should
be a good guest.
Yeah.
The one other thing I did want to ask is what is the backstory of the name Montclair Breakfast for naming the company?
Okay. So this is a super niche poll, but I got really into a show called Big Les Show in like 2021, and super niche YouTube series. Like it's an animator who just draws on Microsoft Paint, and it's like this animated series. And I was like, I want to make a cartoon. And I was like, what the hell would I even call this thing? And I love names that are like noun adjective or like, you know, like doesn't really make sense. Like, you know, like artist names, like Trippy Red doesn't really make sense. But like you hear the name so much, it starts to make sense, you know? So I was like, I want to find something like that. And like a buddy of mine had put out an album called Platinum Green, but it's like 2 colors, but it almost sounds like platinum is describing the green. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a weird name for this cartoon. And I don't even remember specifically like why I came up with Montclair Breakfast, but I always liked the brand Montclair. And I think my roommate at the time was going to Montclair College in New Jersey. So I think like I probably was hearing that word a lot. And then I was just like, yeah, like Montclair, like what? Like breakfast? Probably. That sounds right. So I made one pilot episode. It was like a minute long of this cartoon. Hated the process. I was like, I'm never making a cartoon ever again. And that was 4 or 5 years ago now. And then I was like, it's going to be my magnum opus of like my album. Like the best album I could ever create. It's going to be called Montclair Breakfast. And I just never made music that I felt was good enough for the name. And I was like, I'm just going to keep the name on the back burner for when I feel like it's ready for whatever it's going to be. And kind of like actually as soon as I moved out here, I was like, it's going to be a creative production company, which still kind of in a way ties in like all the elements of like what I wanted it to be with like fashion, music, like creativity, just like a collective. So
that's a great story because it has a lot of a meaning to, you know, how you your progression towards founding the company. Like,
yeah.
Right. And I thought a lot about this because my company is called Delaney Video. It's just my last name in video. I thought about early on is there a way that I can have, I don't know if you want to call it like an Easter egg or something that has like a hidden meaning or, and I had a couple options and then I just thought, you know what? As a temporary name, it's just going to be Delaney Video because it's my name and what I do. And I just haven't moved on from that and it's clicked and I think it sounds good, but I'm strangely envious in a way of having a name like that where it's kind of, you don't like the average person would not know like the origin story of it or like where it came from. But also it's memorable and it's intriguing. So, but anyway, thanks for sharing that. That's a cool story.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man.
If people want to follow you, like what are your handles or website or?
Montclair Breakfast, montclairbreakfast.com, and Caleb Olson 21 on Instagram. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to listen to like any of my music, it's YDA Daniel. Daniel's my middle name, but it's an A instead of an E. But I haven't even mentioned that to anyone in years. So good luck, whatever you find down that rabbit hole.
Well, if you've made it to this far,
if you made it this far in the video, it's a little,
that's your treat there. Yeah. Some top secret
information. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Caleb. We really enjoyed this. And
thank you, man.
Looking forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you, man. Likewise, you too.